what makes a good angel versus what makes a great angel? So there are three types of angels, right? There's the guy that's willing to write you a check. There's the guy that's going to help you manage your company. And there's the guy that's going to raise the next round, assist you and help you and raise the next round. So we're going to explore those three types, and at the end, we're going to decide what's a good angel and what's a great angel. So thank you for joining us. And if you would give us a little bit of your background and a little bit of an
Sure.
introduction.
So, hello everyone. My background is very technical. I'm a tech entrepreneur. I had my own company, and I started by doing outsourcing, and then went into the own products business. And in 2009, I sold one of those products, and that's how I came to be an investor after selling that company. I didn't have much to do, and I just found opportunities. They actually came to me. I was not set up to do angel investing. It just happened, and yeah, that leads to now. I mean, after a few investments, other people came to me and proposed opportunities, and if I found them interesting enough, I went in.
How many investments have you done?
I'm probably most known for the last two, 1 to 3 contact from an Axosuits. However, there have been many, and most of them were not successful. There have been probably close to 10 others.
And in hindsight, is there anything about the ones that weren't successful that you can now identify that you wouldn't do again?
Oh yeah, definitely. There have been many mistakes, and I try to identify for each one what I did wrong. I think that the biggest problem is that when you build a company from here in Romania, you have success only in certain domains, okay? So I try to identify which one are the successful ones and which are some areas in which I don't want to be. Because you're missing the ecosystem to make them successful from here, from Romania.
So what makes something attractive to you?
Well, right now, I'm interested in software as a service or Internet of Things. Probably also mobile gaming, but with a question mark, and that's it, nothing else. I don't do consumer businesses, social. If you came to me with social, gamify, you lost me, okay? So I don't do that kind of deals.
So are you a hands-on angel, or are you a little more kickback? How involved do you get with your companies?
I like to be very involved in the companies. I consider myself as a late-stage co-founder, which also puts money in to buy his ticket into the business. So that's the way I'm seeing it. I'm like a consultant in my own companies. I work with the teams and help them avoid the mistakes that I made as an entrepreneur. And coming from the same background, I really understand what their problem is. I help them with the product development, with the marketing strategy, and try to speed up the process, which took me years before. Now we can do it in just a few months.
And what does that mean as a time commitment? How much time are you putting in on average for your startups?
It depends on the founder, how quickly he learns. Yeah, of course. It can be from a few months to a year.
Full time?
No, no full time. I mean, I do. My ideal candidate would be someone with whom I make a weekly meeting, but if necessary, we can do more. And in time, I hope that that meeting can turn probably to once a month, hopefully. But that takes time, probably a year or so. So in the beginning, I'm willing to have several meetings per week.
And are you investing alone or are you co-investing?
I have experience with both. I do not prefer one or the other.
In the co-investing model, do the other investors take on the same sort of active role that you do, or are they more passive?
Also, I have experience with both. I prefer to have others which are not that involved as I am, because if you have too many opinions, that can lead to disagreements and other problems. So if I'm doing a co-investment, I would prefer, but I'm not excluding, I would prefer probably some angels which consider me as the lead.
And have you developed a group of people that fall into that category? Are the people that follow you now after
Yeah,
the two successes at the end?
actually, I just helped one of the startup raise another round, and the group of the investors did not have a lead because they were not very, they lacked the experience to do an angel round. Okay, so I helped them and I assumed the role as leader because I was apparently the one with more experience. Yeah. So, but before that, I also was in deals in which I was the follower and someone else was the leader, and I was totally fine with that as well. If I find someone who has more experience than me, I think it makes more sense to let him lead.
And what are your expectations as far as an exit? Are you looking to get out in what kind of time frame and what kind of return?
My expectation when I make an investment is that I tell my wife that I lost some money, and then if something
Good
comes,
idea.
yeah, if something comes out of it, then yeah, we'll both be happy. So when I make an angel investment, I do not make any plans on that money. If it turns out to be successful, I will be very happy. So I do not have any expectations in regards to the amount which I'm going to take out or the amount of time in which I'm going to wake up. For me, these are very risky businesses. I do have also other investments which are more stable, and I can make calculations on those, but those are other things. The angel investments for me are the high-risk investments.
And is your expectation that you're funding them to a subsequent later round, or are you hoping to go from your investment to an exit?
Again, I do not, well, it depends. I mean, if it's a hardware-related company, for sure, the angel money is not going to be enough. They're going to need quite a lot of money to make a small batch of production. So in certain businesses, it's obvious that you will need another round. In others, like a software as a service, however, those are usually cash cows. If they execute the plan right, they should not need another round. So if they want to get another round, should probably be to look for a partner rather than cash. So these are two different businesses, totally different. It really depends on the domain in which they're activating.
And when we were talking with Jonathan, Jonathan said, that one of the primary, attractions to him is market size. Do you focus on market size? Do you focus on technology? What's the number one thing that drives your interest?
I do not look at market size initially. I look at the product and the team. These are the most important things at which I look initially. And then I look at the market size, because if the team is not experienced and the market size is very low, and they will definitely make mistakes, then we have a problem. If you're having even a small market size but a very experienced team who has done something like that before and comes from with strong background in that domain, I see no problem if the market is lower, because they can execute much better, faster, and they can acquire that smaller market faster. So I'm not sure that looking only at the market size is right, but you should probably look at the team who's behind the business and what's the product. I mean, they need to have a very good product. And I spend a lot of time making due diligence on the actual product, because the product is a reflection of the experience of the team. That's how I see it.
How much time do you spend on due diligence on average?
Weeks. Probably. If I find someone who is interesting, I spend some weeks on doing some due diligence, some basic due diligence on them.
And what do you focus on? What do you need to know in order to get comfortable?
Oh, there are so many things. Depends on the stage of the company. If they have some sales, then I want to see numbers, then I want to see predictions, I want to see a marketing strategy. So it's a discussion which is very wide. I have a lot of questions. I have a set of 50 questions probably, but it depends on the stage of the company.
What do you do to, check out the entrepreneurs themselves?
I ask around a lot.
And so it's a small community, so people know everybody?
Yeah, here in Romania, it's quite a small community.
So the likelihood is that if you're, not liked by the community, you're not going to get funded, correct?
I don't believe that you should go to an investor and just propose him and he will just give money. I don't think that's how things work. You need to build trust first. That's how things work everywhere in the world, not only here in Romania.
And where do your deals come from? If you said, cold calling is not your approach, where do your deals come from?
Best deals, as an investor, you find yourself. The best deals will not come to you. You will find your best deals, probably.
And you do that by focusing on certain technologies that you like?
Yes, going to conferences like this one and trying to be in the ecosystem, and eventually you will identify. The ones that stand out from the community will be easily observed by an investor.
And what are the challenges of being an angel investor in a smaller ecosystem like Romania and Bucharest?
Not having highways, that's the biggest challenge. Yeah, by not living here in Bucharest, I really have a problem with that because it's a big country and you need to be in several cities here in Romania because things are happening everywhere. It's not only here in Bucharest. There are very interesting startups on the western side of Romania just as well, and I was very surprised that nobody here knew about them. So one of the problems with the ecosystem here in Romania is that they do not meet as often as they should, and they don't even know about successes on the other side of the country. And as an investor, of course, there is a problem because if you have a fractured ecosystem like I'm seeing right now, that's a problem. You don't have the information circulating in that ecosystem.
And is that a question of developing an angel network? What would address that or solve that?
I think it will mature by itself. It just needs time probably. And more success stories.
And what is the perception of outside money versus local money? You know, is there a desire to have local folks supporting local companies, or does outside money validate? Can you talk about that?
I think that we have quite enough local deals that you can say that local money are meaningful. We have success stories like Radu Georgescu, who are now making investments in startups here in Romania. So I don't think that we depend that much on outside money as we used to. Right now, I think that also there are many investors who have nothing to do with the IT. I see a lot of investors from other areas, maybe there are some here even in this room, that had successful business in, I don't know, real estate, and now they want to diversify their portfolio and they are looking for opportunities in IT. Of course, they need to get into syndicated rounds and have someone with IT knowledge to guide them through that investment, but they want to invest. So by looking at both sides, I see that there are local money, but I think that the entrepreneurs do not know how to attract that local money. I think there is a misconception between the entrepreneurs that the local money are not educated enough and they will not be able to get the local money. And I think that's wrong. I really think that is wrong now.
And how do you solve that? How do you fix that?
We need to be more organized, probably, the investors. There are some initiatives to build groups of investors. We try to get more exposure of ourselves and show that we are willing and we have the experience, and the startup should come to us just as going to outsiders.
And do you participate in any online platforms or angel networks online?
I do not invest online. I really like to see the people actually in front of me and talk to them like to a human being and see how they react.
So an angel's den or angel's list is not something that you
no,
use?
I don't like that. I mean, if I'm a hands-on investor, okay, I like to work with those guys then, and I like to see how they react when you're making a critic on their product. I like to see how they embrace new ideas and not just to throw them to garbage right away without even thinking. That you cannot see that in an online platform. And I really don't have any appeal in just putting in money and not getting involved at all in the startup. So for me, it doesn't make sense to invest online. But you talked about groups. We do have groups here in Romania which do not invest online, but they organize sessions of pitches and try to make syndicated rounds, and they try to make some PR around their organizations. And there are several. It's not just one. There are several.
Do you believe that the angel can change the outcome of the company's direction?
Yeah, definitely.
How?
There are many things. Of course, the money has some importance, but I really think that the know-how is more important than the money that they are bringing in. Their networking. For example, let me give you my example because I'm talking from experience. When I started working with 123 Contact Form, I advised them to work with with certain um, freelancer and collaborators of mine, which I tested in the last 15 years, and I tested a lot. And I told them, look, these are the guys that you should be working with, and I can vouch for them that they are going to make a very good job. Of course, we're going to have to pay them because they are external contractors, but they will really push your business forward. They did that, and the business exploded after that. Okay, so um, the previous experience and the networking that the investor should have. I mean, we are talking about smart money here, not just someone who writes a check. It's very important for very early stage startups. And one more thing, which is probably very important to mention, I like to get involved in very early stage startups.
How involved have you been in raising subsequent rounds for companies?
I did that only once on a startup in which I had made the initial angel investing. And since I have this I don't know, a rule probably that I do not want to do any follow-up rounds. I told them, look, try to find and raise another round. And since I saw that they had difficulties in doing that, I tried to help them with my network. And they managed to raise another round and line up a syndicated round from 3 other investors.
So your investment approach is that you don't typically reserve dry powder for later rounds. You go in early and then with the expectation that new money will come in.
Yep, very, very early. For example, in Axosuits, they're building a robot. They had only a blueprint, and it wasn't even complete. So that's very, very early. I mean, they didn't even have a prototype, and I gave that probably 5% of success to actually work.
And did you, I realize that you don't focus on a potential return or something, but did you have an interest in what percentage of the company you were going to get?
Yes, of course. I mean, it's a negotiation. You want as
Did you
much
have a
as
goal in mind, or did?
Yeah, definitely. I want to be a minority, okay, because I really want them to feel that they own the business. So it's important that I have a minority stake. Also, it's important to be at least 2 co-founders. I do not get into deals where there is only one, because if you're making a board, I want at least 3 persons to make the decision. So it's never going to be just me and another guy. Okay, because you
But do you
cannot.
take a board position when you invest
Yes,
early on?
I want a board position. Um, and yeah,
Um, when when you take a board position, do are they typically reporting to you on a regular basis, or is that something you instill in them, or is that something that you look at company by company? How do you develop the reporting process so that as a board member that you have that transparency and that information?
it's not something very formal. We just have discussions. What I do like to have is at least some key performance indicators, some milestones, something that we can relate to see where we are. And those need to be updated on a monthly basis. But other than that, I do not impose a protocol, or I'm not formal, okay? I'm an angel investor, I'm not a VC fund. I will not ask them to hire a financial officer only to give me reports, because they should focus on other more important things at that stage of the company.
Do you develop the KPIs when you make the investment, or it's an ongoing process? How do you define the KPIs?
It is an ongoing process, but initially I asked for some key performance indicators. In most of the companies, there were none. And I usually submit a list of requirements, what should probably be the most important key performance indicators for that specific business.
And by not participating in subsequent rounds, do you tend to get diluted as a result?
Yes, of course I get diluted. Everybody gets diluted. I mean, I do not impose those strange, I don't have those strange clauses that you find in the term sheets of a VC. I don't have drag-along rights or liquidation preferences. I don't have anti-dilution rights. I don't have anything of that kind. It's just another associate in the business, and everybody has the same rights but different percentages, and that's it.
And you've not suffered as a result of not having those in your experience?
That's why I'm very careful with who I do business, and I do my due diligence. We didn't. So far, I had no problems.
What recommendation, what recommendation would you give to someone who's interested in becoming an angel investor?
An advice to someone who wants to become now. Be prepared to lose money, because you will, quite a lot. You know how you make a big fortune out of, how you make a small fortune out of angel investing? You start with a big fortune and eventually it makes small. That's how you make a small fortune. Okay. Yeah. So I think that you can just look at the statistics. Probably 10% of the businesses, 10 to 20% of the businesses will actually have success, and that should cover all the losses of all the others. And I can confirm from my experience that actually happens. Like I said, I've made probably like 10 investments, and I can say that one will be very successful. There are others who just didn't die. Okay, they are floating, and many others died.
What motivates you to be an angel?
I like to get involved in as many things as possible, I think. And by being on the board of these companies, it's pretty exciting. Every day is something new.
So it's an opportunity to remain active and see new technologies. What do you do besides angel investing these days?
Beside angel investing, I'm also investor in real estate. So I'm running also a real estate business. But that's totally unrelated. My initial business and my main experience is in IT. So that's probably why I'm focusing more of my time in working with startups, because I enjoy it much more.
If a startup company were to come to you, what advice would you offer them about angels? What should they avoid and what should they work on?
It really depends on what their company is all about, what's their stage. I cannot give one main advice for a startup. It depends what they need at that specific time. I can if they raise my interest enough and my attention to actually listen to their pitch. And by the way, that's just 10 seconds, so they should be very careful with what they approach me, because I lose patience quite fast. So if they are explaining me what their business is about, I can probably give them specific guidance on their specific business. So I don't give generalistic advices. I never do that.
But would I say that they need to be able to concisely pitch you in a very short period of time to either generate your interest or not? That the longer the pitch isn't going to make it change, right? The outcome. Right? They get the message to you and then let you decide whether or not.
I always tell them, in just one short sentence, tell me what you do. Okay, just like Elon Musk can say, I'm going to send people to Mars, or I'm building the first electric supercar. That's simple. Okay, if they can come up with that phrase when they approach any angel investor, they will probably have much better chance to really talk to that angel investor.
And if they can't, they're not likely going to keep your interest.
Mine not, because I lose patience very quickly.
Have you run across companies where you're not particularly interested, but you're willing to make a recommendation or an introduction to someone else who might be better suited?
Yeah, definitely.
Can you talk about that?
I am doing that all the time. So I'm quite easily approached. I always reply to emails. I'm quite open. So if I can help them, I will. And I did in the past. So they should feel free to approach me anytime, but just keep in mind that explaining me 10 minutes something that I just don't understand doesn't make sense. So they should feel if I'm interested in that startup or not.
Okay. We're going to open up the questions to the room. Okay. So if anyone has questions, please let us know.
I have a question with regard to Romania in particular. Do you find that the Romanian startups, by default, those best ones, have a global mindset? That they set out to have a solution that appeals to markets worldwide? Or do they focus more on getting a solution for Romanian market only? And then they would think about expanding.
Unfortunately, you are right. There are many, many Romanian startups. They come with ideas from outside and they try to import it. And I try to explain them that that's just the wrong way to do it. But the most successful ones do not focus on the Romanian market at all. Those are the ones that I like because they think internationally right from the start. I try to explain them that the cost of the development is the same whether that you are developing it for the Romanian market or the international market. And I find it very difficult to I find it very strange that they do not understand it right from the beginning. So I really think that they should think bigger. And when I'm saying bigger, it's not only in market size, but also in the ideas. What I seem that we're lacking here in Romania is very big ideas, something that when you hear it, you find it impossible. Let's take the electric car, for example. Okay, we don't have those kind of crazy ideas here in Romania. All the ideas are very small increments over products which are already existing. We do not have anything revolutionary. I'm not seeing things which are revolutionary, and I would like to see that. But unfortunately, in order to innovate in any domain, you need to work with the best in that domain. And if the best in that domain are not present here in Romania, of course, you cannot be the best in anything. And probably they should have a much more of a global mindset by even going and working in a bigger company in US or somewhere else with experts in that domain. And maybe if they want to come up there with a startup, if they want to come and develop here back in Romania because the cost is lower, fine, but yeah.
And second question concerning scientific community, researchers at university, PhDs and so on. What I find is that in Central Europe there's a great depth of things being done, but commercializing them, it's another matter. I mean, do you work with people out of academic institutions to try and help them build a viable startup out of what they are doing there? What's the environment? And also, are the universities helpful, or they are more of a obstacle?
Unfortunately, from my experience, they were more of an obstacle. I tried to talk to them about involving them in some of the projects, but they were not very interesting, not very interested. Also, I've been in some academic institutions in Cluj, and I was shocked that all they talked about was why they cannot do things. I think that's a very wrong mindset. Instead of discussing how can we do those things, they were giving excuses as to why they cannot do things. So when you're talking with a person at an age of 50, you cannot change his mindset. So if that's the mindset, unfortunately, there's not much you can do about it. But they have ideas, they have good ideas, and they're just keeping them in the closet.
That's a pity.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Tudor from Staccelerate. I have a two-sided question for you. What is the skill, the most important skill lacking for the startup founders in Romania on one side and angel investors on the other side?
I think that the most important skills that we are missing is sales and marketing. We have very good engineers who make products that nobody else can use. So that, and then we cannot sell them. We are lacking in everything else besides developers, and we are lacking big. We do not have product managers. I mean, we do have product managers, but not enough, okay? We don't have enough product managers. We don't have enough user experience guys, designers. We have designers, but they're not that good at making a user experience, okay? And for sure, we do not have the salesman culture. And in one startups, we had to hire an American. And it's the difference in culture between the European sales guy and the American sales guy is just huge. You cannot compare the two, and results are showing that. Marketing, we do have specialists in marketing, which come mostly from the publishing industry, from what I've seen, and they need to adapt to selling a product, or your own product, but we're not lacking that much in that area. As for angel investors, what they're lacking is probably experience. We do not have that many deals, and I think that if they are willing to lose more money to get that experience, that would benefit everybody.
Thank you. Do you foresee a solution here for each of the parties? It wasn't me.
Look, I'm not the solution guy. I do not have a solution for how the ecosystem should develop, but I'm pretty sure that we'll find a way. I mean, we just need to try to do things, and we learn from mistakes. We will make mistakes, of course.
Any other questions?
You mentioned at the beginning that there are some areas where you would not invest because we do not have the ecosystem. Could you give us a bit more detail? What would be an area or areas where you wouldn't invest anymore, and what would be? You mentioned mobile gaming. It would be an area where you would invest. What would
Yeah,
be the
you want me to mention the areas in which I'm personally not interested?
I'm looking for your experience.
Look, this is a personal opinion, so don't take it as an interest of every angel out there, okay? So I can only tell you what my personal preference is. So I don't do any investments in mobile apps. I think that the monetization for mobile apps is very, very difficult. The only mobile apps that you can do and monetize here are games. And we do have a few examples of successful mobile games here in Romania. Maven Hut is probably the most famous. But then again, as I said about the ecosystem, you need VC money for that kind of businesses. Maven Hut was lucky enough to find a VC to back them. If they would not have received those funding, probably they would have died eventually. You can talk to Bobby about that one. He will tell you more. And it's the same thing with every consumer application or consumer business or photo sharing app or anything else in which you need a lot of money to acquire users and be successful. If you do not have a lot of money to make that big audience, you will not be able to sell advertisements or try to make money out of the platform. So you need to burn a lot of money until you can actually make money. And the current ecosystem here in Romania is that you do not have access to that middle type of funds. Okay, you can find in Romania angel money and you can find Series B money, but you will not find high risk seed money of a few hundred thousands. That's the biggest challenge to find here in Romania. And you will probably die if you're going after a consumer product because you will not have money to do real intensive marketing and build the audience to actually make some money with your application.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Great. We'd like to thank Adrian for his time. Did I miss one? Oh. Thank you.